The last time I gave my family money, I was sitting in my car in a hospital parking lot. My own hospital. I had just been told my blood pressure was dangerously high, that I needed rest. That stress was quietly dismantling me from the inside. My phone buzzed before I even started the engine. It was my brother. Bhai, just this once, I promise it's the last time. It was never the last time. My name is Imran. I am 31 years old. I have been working since I was 19. Not because I had to, because I believed that was what a good son did. A good brother, a good man. You work, you earn, you give. You don't count, you don't complain. You just keep the tap running and tell yourself it's love. Nobody told me there's a difference between love and being used. I had to learn that one the hard way. We were never a wealthy family. My father worked in a government office for 30 years, honest work, modest salary, enough to get by but never enough to breathe easily. My mother managed the house with the precision of someone who had spent decades making less feel like more. I was the eldest of four, and from the time I was old enough to understand money, I understood one thing clearly. You are the one who will save this family. Nobody said it directly. Nobody sat me down and assigned me the role. It was more subtle than that. A look here, a sigh there. Thank God we have Imran, said in front of relatives in front of me like I was both the audience and the solution. By the time I was 22 and earning a real salary, the requests had already begun. The first few years, I gave without hesitation. My sister Hira's school fees. My brother Salman's motorcycle repair. The household grocery shortfall at the end of each month. My father's medication. My mother's sister's wedding contribution because what will people say if our family doesn't give properly? I gave for all of it. Gladly. Genuinely. I told myself, this is temporary. Once things stabilize, once everyone is on their feet, it'll balance out. It never balanced out. Because here is what I didn't understand then. When a family learns that a person will always say yes, they stop asking whether they should be asking at all. The requests didn't decrease as years passed. They grew. By my late 20s, I had a pattern I couldn't see clearly because I was living inside it. Every month within the first week of my salary, my phone would light up. My mother first, gentle, cushioned in love, never a demand, always a need. Then Salman, who had a gift for timing his crises to coincide with my paydays. Then sometimes Hira. Then occasionally an uncle or cousin, always prefaced with, I know you're busy, but I had a spreadsheet once. I made it late one night, almost as a joke. It was not funny. In 3 years, I had given my family the equivalent of a down payment on an apartment. An apartment I did not own. An apartment I could not afford because I was busy funding everyone else's life. I stared at that spreadsheet for a long time. Then I closed it and went to sleep and didn't look at it again for 6 months. Because looking at it meant I had to decide something. And I wasn't ready. The thing nobody tells you about being the family provider is this. The money is not actually the heaviest part. The heaviest part is the expectation. The assumption that you will always have more. That your needs are somehow smaller. That your dreams, the apartment, the savings, the trip you'd been planning for 3 years, the business idea you'd been sketching in notebooks, those things can wait. Those things can always wait. I remember the one time I said no. Salman needed money for a business idea. Not a small amount, 3 months of my savings. He laid it out confidently, like a man presenting a proposal he was certain would be approved. I'll pay you back in 6 months, he said. Double. Salman, I don't have it right now. I'm saving for what? He laughed. Like it was a strange concept, like the idea of me having financial goals was mildly amusing. For myself, I said. The silence that followed was remarkable, like I had said something in a foreign language. That night my mother called. Imran, beta, your brother just needs a little support. You know how hard he tries. And I gave the money, because that is what the family ATM does. It processes the transaction and it does not have feelings about it. The hospital parking lot was the beginning of the end. Or rather, the beginning of the beginning. I sat in my car with the doctor's words still fresh and I looked at Salman's message and something shifted in me. Not dramatically, not loudly, Just a quiet, final click, like a lock turning. I put the phone in my bag. I drove home. I did not reply that night. For the first time in 12 years, I sat with my own silence, and I asked myself a question I had been avoiding for a decade. If I disappeared tomorrow, not died, just left, just ceased to be available, what would actually fall apart? And whose responsibility would it then become to fix it? The answer was uncomfortable, because the truth was, most of what I was funding was not survival, it was convenience. It was the comfort of knowing Imran would handle it. It was a safety net that had become a hammock. My family was not struggling. They were simply not trying, not fully, not the way people try when there is no other option, because there was always another option. Me. I called my father the next morning. Not my mother, who would soften everything. Not Salman, who would negotiate. My father, quiet, proud, the man I respected most in the world and had somehow never had this conversation with. Papa, I said, I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear it as my father, not as someone who needs something from me. A pause. Okay, I am not okay. My voice almost broke on those 4 words. I have not been okay for a long time. I am tired, Papa. I am so tired. I have been taking care of everyone, and no one not once has asked if I needed taking care of. Silence. I kept going. I love this family. I would do anything for this family, but I am a person. I have a life. I have things I want, and I cannot keep emptying myself so that everyone else stays full. My father didn't speak for a long moment. When he did, his voice was rough. Why didn't you say something before? Because every time I tried, someone needed something. Another long silence. I didn't see it, he said finally. Imran, I didn't see what we were doing. I know, Papa, that's not an excuse. I know that too. What happened next was not a movie moment. My father did not call a family meeting where everyone cried and apologized and transformed overnight. Salman was defensive, then angry, then, eventually, quietly ashamed. My mother cried not manipulatively, genuinely, and said she had confused providing with loving and that she was sorry. Hira, my younger sister, surprised me most. She called me 3 days later and said, Bhai, I want you to know I never thought it was okay. I just didn't know how to say anything. She paused. I should have. That meant more than she knew. I set boundaries slowly, imperfectly. There were moments I slipped, old habits, old guilt, the familiar pull of someone's voice saying just this once, but I held mostly. I started saving. Properly, consistently, for the first time in my adult life. Within a year, I had a real emergency fund. Within 2 years, I had the down payment I'd been dreaming of. The apartment is small. It is mine. I still help my family. The difference is it's a choice now, not a reflex, not a compulsion, not the behavior of a man who has confused being needed with being loved. Last month, Salman called me on my birthday, just to say happy birthday. No request, no setup, no cushioning before the real question, just, happy birthday, Bhai. I'm proud of the man you are. I had to sit down, because in 31 years no one in my family had said that to me. They had relied on me, leaned on me, needed me, but proud, that was new. That was everything. If you are reading this and you recognize yourself, if you are the one who always gives, always answers, always finds a way, I want to say something to you directly. You are not a machine. You are not responsible for everyone's comfort at the cost of your own survival. Saying no is not abandonment, and a family that only calls when they need something is not a family loving you. They are making a withdrawal. You are allowed to close the account.